Don Mazzella here again. We're approaching or just about finished with Mom's Day, but it's still a topic that we're all interested in. Uh, but over the last couple of days, an interesting topic has come up, which is how do women become stronger and leaders rather than followers in this today's world? And with us today, I asked Regina Bonds to address that issue, and she joins us today. How are you, Regina?
I am doing phenomenal, Don, and thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor to be with you and just to speak with all of the viewers and really tap into this topic of female leadership and really owning who we are and what we bring to the table and still believing that we can be feminine and powerful at the same time.
Well, you framed our talk for today, but before we start, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your company, and finally a website.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Regina Bonds, and I own a business that's centered around confidence. So I teach women how to be confident, whether they want to step into leadership, whether they want a promotion or business leadership, all those things that I do. And I have a mastermind group that I teach female leadership in there, and also in doing confidence boot camps for females who just really want to step into that confidence and own who they are and really get out of life what they truly desire. So I've been doing that for about 7 years now. And it's been an absolute honor to serve women in that capacity. And I've gained a lot of knowledge and insight and wisdom from doing that. And it's just been an amazing experience. And I've also shared the stage with a lot of different individuals and spoke. I really enjoy public speaking and a plethora of other things. But I think most of all, I just want women to feel more confident. And you can find out more information about all things confidence at my website, which is www.reginabonds, and that's REGINABONDS, reginabonds.com.
Okay, Regina, but what did you do before you opened your business?
Before I before I opened my business, great question. I was a banker for 9 years. So I worked for corporate America and in a banking role with a lot of different banks. And I started as a teller. I worked my way up to a business banker, and then I also tapped into a little bit of wealth management as well while I was in a corporate America. And it really served me because now I'm able to go into the marketplace and offer my products and services and not be afraid to sell, ask for the business, and all those different things that I had an opportunity to learn while I was yet in corporate America.
Well, before we get into the topic, you raised a very interesting question. A lot of women don't ask for the sale or ask for the promotion. Why is that?
Well, the root of it is we don't believe in our value. You know, there's a study that was done, I think, by the Harvard Business Review that stated that men will apply for a job even if they're not qualified, even if they don't meet all the qualifications, they will apply for the job 50% over what women will do. We will find one thing on that list that they're looking for, and it may not be something that we have a lot of experience in, and we will automatically disqualify ourselves. And it comes from a place of feeling worthy, right? That we are able to be what that job requirement wants us to be. And so it really stems from believing in our value, knowing what we bring to the table, and understanding there is something special about what a woman can bring that's different. Doesn't take away from a man, but it's different from a man. We bring the emotional sense, which really helps pick out better buyers, better clients, because we can dig into the real necessity of what the client is actually looking for. So that's what we need to start bringing to that table, is our nurturing sense, our ability to nurture the client so they can get to where they want to be. But it just comes from believing honestly in who we are.
I couldn't agree with you more. But let's back up a minute. This women entering the workforce are really the third generation since the women's emancipation movement started. Why? Yet they still have the same set of problems, not problems of things that hold them back that occurred in the 60s and the 70s. Why do you think that is? Is it the home environment? Is it, um, what is your opinion?
Absolutely, Dawn. So for me, I am a psychology major. So I went to college to be a psychiatrist, and then I ended up stemming into women's therapy. One of the reasons why we have yet to really own who we are as women is what we've learned over the years is trauma is stored in the body. And for all of those decades and those years where women did not have a voice, we had to ask for permission. We were taught, even as little girls, to be seen and not heard. Sit down, let the man do it, let them take the control. We couldn't vote, all those different things. Those things that were stored even in our grandparents and great grandparents and all the women who've come before us, it's trauma is stored in the body. So what we don't understand is some of the things that we're walking in now, the fear of being seen, the fear of being heard, the fear of asking for our value and bringing our power to the table comes from that trauma that has been stored through the body from generations before us that we haven't yet addressed and dealt with, which stems from having to go to therapy and address those root needs of understanding that it is okay for us to now move out of that place of asking for permission and actually speaking up for ourselves.
But do you think after almost 50 years of this that things would have changed? But it seems we're talking about the same things that I talked about in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think we're finally getting to a place, we're on the precipice of getting to a place where women are actually stepping into a place of value and believing in themselves. And it's taken time because while we are publicly saying that we support women, there are a lot of behind the scenes scenarios where we are yet and still suppressed and told what to do and what we can have. So we're talking about a lot of things that we see publicly. The news is sharing women, we need to be more, we need to do more, but behind the scenes, there are still a lot of women in different areas who are yet still suppressed, who are just now finally getting to the place where they can open up and finally start to talk about it and deal with those issues.
Mhm. I learned an interesting statistic yesterday that of the medical schools in this country, only 20% are led by women. Uh, okay, it's interesting. But now let's go back. Let's go to the topic that we originally started with. What are the elements that suppress women from reaching out and reaching beyond their capabilities and just saying, "I can do the job. Just give me the chance."
Yeah, opportunity, right? I think the number one thing is opportunity. There are yet a lot of platforms, corporations who are just now open to the idea that a woman can run the company. And so the elements that a woman needs to begin to embody and embrace for her to start really putting herself out there, number one is she needs to reprogram her mind to really step into her power and own if she can do the job, believing that she can do the job and not paying attention to what the outside world is telling her that what she can be, do, and have. So number one, I would say she has to really reprogram her mind. Number two is there has to be a forum, an open dialogue where we are almost like a town hall, right? Where we get to come to the table and express some of these issues that we're facing behind the scenes, again, because Publicly, we support women. Privately, there's still so many who yet don't believe that a woman has what it takes to lead. And so having this sort of town hall experience where major leaders are willing to come to the table and open up a conversation where women have the opportunity to be seen, be heard, be accepted, and actually do something about it. So it's going to take some trailblazers, some women who are not afraid to be told, we don't want to hear what you got to say, but still they rise anyway and express some of the issues that they're facing. And then honestly, having a community, right? There's nothing like having a camaraderie of women beside you who says, you know, we're in this together. We're standing together. If you stand, I stand, we're together in this. And so I do believe that women who are on the precipice of stepping into leadership, knowing that they have what it takes, is going to really help them become all they can be when they become a joiner and get in a community that serves them, that helps them, and that supports them.
Well, your website, before we go any further?
ReginaBonds.com, and that is ReginaBonds.com.
Okay, but Regina, let's talk about it. I mean, men like to bond with other men. They like to play sports.
Mm-hmm.
And a woman comes along, like I just read that the first woman pitcher, you know, in a major league affiliated baseball game, just started about a week ago. And made her first start as a pitcher. First woman in a major league associated. But the interesting thing is she had to dress in a separate dressing room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what they didn't say in the story, but I happened to find out. But here, that separates her out from her teammates, and that happens in business too. Now, admittedly, that's changing, but it's still they look. Women are sent into HR roles, into finance roles, but they're not brought into the management roles. How do you get around that?
Wow, Don, that is a power-packed question. How do we get around that? Again, I think it's going to have to come from some trailblazers, women who are not afraid to speak up and say, this is not acceptable. I am, I am deserving of the same rights, the same treatment as everyone else. And it's going to take, again, if we really want to see change and we see people say we need the change, we need those people to stand up and speak, especially if they're CEOs. And we need to start asking questions. Why come we don't see a lot of women in C-suite roles, and why is it that we are just now allowing women to operate in these roles, and they're very few and far between? I think it has to do with holding those who are in higher management accountable. Right. So in those board meetings, we need women in there to speak up for women. But in order to get there, it's going to take a woman who is confident, who owns the room, who is willing to speak up and hold those who are in upper management and those leadership roles accountable to equality, and to fight for the opportunity for everyone to have a fair chance.
But a lot of women who have reached that roles don't seem to have reputations for helping others.
Well,
Other women.
ooh, that's really good, because you know what? We have been trained by society to fight our way there in a masculine way. And because we had to fight, steal, cheat, and do all those things to get there, now we feel like I'm here, and if I try to help someone else, another woman, maybe I'll lose my role. So we sit still, we do what we're told, and we're just trying to fight to stay in the role that we're in. But again, it's going to take a trailblazer, You know, it's going to take someone who's willing to carve out a path that says it stops here, and I may get there first, but I can guarantee you I won't be the last. I come, as Maya Angelou says, I come as one, but when I stand as 10,000. So it's going to take those group of women, maybe a small group, you know, maybe just a small group in the beginning that says, I'm standing up for women, and I'm going to open this opportunity and open doors, and I'm going to be the one who opens it up for other women to be able to be a part of it and have a seat at the table.
Okay, let's switch a little bit now. Let's
Mhm.
talk about Blacks and Latinos. Okay,
Mm.
okay. I feel you and I can have a conversation. Okay,
Mhm.
I mean, there again, if someone was black, the question is always, why did he or she make it? Was it because she was black, or because they had to satisfy a quota? But on the same token, you also have Latinos who are not being advanced for the same reasons as blacks. And in that group, Latino women are definitely much stronger, as are the black women, than there seems to be their male counterparts. You want to address that?
Uh, wow. I actually had just read up on a study that was talking about how Black women are getting paid pennies on the dollars compared to white women, and even less than white men in America. And Latino women are, and it streams from Black women, Asian, and then Latino women are on the bottom of that. So where the Black woman may be just making a little bit more, the Latino is at the bottom. The Latino women are at the bottom of the pay scale structure, when the reality is, why are we putting why is it that our color, the color of our skin, our culture, our heritage has anything to do with the knowledge that we have, right? The capacity to lead that we have. It has nothing to do with, and in fact, if we want to go there, we probably would be even more qualified because we've endured so much. We know what it takes to push past pain, to push past adversity. And so I think we as women of color are all the more qualified because we've been pressed down for so long, and yet we still continue to rise. And it's going to take women like me who are not afraid to speak up and say, this is not fair. And I'm standing up for every woman of color and say, we are demanding fair pay. We are just as valuable as anyone else at the table. And we are just as smart, and we can lead with the best of them. And we have to have passion behind that and be willing to be cut out of rooms, if that be the case, to stand up for what we truly believe in. And it is time for us to do that. And I think, you know, just in some of the conversations that I've recently had, that door is really being open for us women of color.
But you, for instance, went from a teller all the way
Yes.
up to um, uh, uh, an advisor, a financial advisor. But that must have taken tremendous concentration on your part, and the ability to be rejected.
Yes, and you know, and one thing that I had to learn is resilience, Don. I had to be resilient, especially in corporate America, where there were so many people who were actually, that I saw were being put in front of me, that I knew I just had just as much education, I was just as smart, and I had the track record to prove, the accolades to prove my worth and value that I brought to that company. But yet and still, because of, you know, who they were, or the color of their skin, or their ethnicity, they were put in front of me and advanced and excel faster. And I had to build some resilience in knowing that, you know, when one door closes, another one is going to open. And also, I had one of the things that I thought was very unfair, but I did it, was I had to work twice as hard, right? Where they may have had a track record of 50% over their sales, I would have 90% over sales and still find myself having to come into the room and telling them why I deserve to get this job over the other person. So every day I decided one day I decided not to play the victim and to really walk from an empowered place. And it changed how I was able to climb up the ranks. So I decided that I was going to be the one who decided what I was going to get. I dressed better than anybody else. I showed up before anybody else showed up. And I showed myself to be a leader, even in the midst of other people who say they were more qualified than me. And those were the things that I did that got me into the door.
Okay, Regina Bonds, and we're talking with Regina Bonds. What are the factors in your early life that made you be able to do that? Because let us also face the fact that early childhood often settles life. What were the factors in your life?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, when I was a little girl, I think I had to build resilience very early in life because I remember in third grade, I was told by my teacher, and I grew up in a predominantly white community. So I was told by my teacher that I would never be able to read or write past the third grade level. I really struggled with reading. Comprehension was a big thing for me. I did not learn like other kids learned. And so for so long in elementary school, I just felt that I wasn't smart enough, that I wasn't good enough, and I looked at my life from that early age, from third grade on up, well into my adulthood, but looked at life through the lens of I'll never be good enough. And then coupled with I was in high school. My mother was very sick when I was in high school. I remember almost getting truancy because I helped take care of my mother until she passed away. And then I had a child right out of high school. So I had a child, being told those things at an early age, had a child out of high school in my senior year. Then my mother passed away immediately after that. It built a resilience in me that I just was built for tough. That if I could get through these things, I knew that I could do anything. And it's one thing that when my mother passed away, I promised myself, she was only 55 years old when she passed. I promised myself after she passed that I was going to give life all that I had. And I think that was the resilience. Sometimes we don't know why we have to go through certain things, but the reasoning why is to build and fortify us in a way for the roles to come that we don't even have an idea that are coming. But those things were setting me up to be able to have a conversation with Don today. And I didn't know it then, but I can see now that it's those things that really are meant to tear us down, that really build us and help us become stronger.
Unfortunately, Regina Bonds, we reached almost the end. You only have a minute. What would you like to leave our audience with?
Well, especially for the women today which has been the source of our topic, if you're in a role, whether you're in corporate America, you're an entrepreneur, and you feel like you are not where you need to be or where you desire to be, I want you to know that you are so needed and necessary. Your voice deserves to be heard, and you have what it takes to become unstoppable. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to trust yourself, and you've got to speak up and own your power. And I promise you, you won't regret it.